Right here on Lookuptv, the hashtag is Lookupnews, and we have many stories lined up for you. The different arms of government, a very busy day at the legislature, which is the National Assembly, as well as the president, who is out and about. We have those stories and so much more, but first, let's take a look at the highlights.
The news headlines in association with
Tonight on Lookupnews, Sirisia MP John Waluke to serve 67-year jail term after the High Court dismissed his appeal. Emotions run high as family and friends give the final send-off to lawyer Paul Gisheru at his farm in Bahati, Nakuru County. And mixed reactions as National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula declares Kenya Kwanza majority party in parliament after weeks of a stalemate.
Yippee! Kamata plotting at 349k. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optiven's plot of land, you get 10k cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
I am Nelima, and our sign language interpreter for tonight is Felista Adundo. Do stay with us as we bring you up to speed with stories that are making headlines. The hashtag is Lookupnews at Lookuptv on Twitter, Lookuptv on Facebook, and Lookuptv on our YouTube channel. Let's begin. Sirisia Member of Parliament John Waluke is set to serve a 67-year prison sentence following dismissal of his appeal by the court. High Court Judge Esther Minor ruled that the prosecution proved the charges against Waluke beyond reasonable doubt. With the sentence being within the law, MP Waluke was found guilty in the 313 million graft fraud case.
Slapped Sirisia Member of Parliament Waluke with a 67-year jail sentence if he fails to pay a 727 million fine. The verdict follows the prosecution proving the case against Waluke and fellow business lady Grace Wakungu. Waluke's sentencing follows the wake of the graft case that he is alleged to have defrauded the National Cereals and Produce Board 313 million. Waluke and Wakungu were accused of failing to supply 40,000 metric tons of maize to NCPB in 2004. Waluke had earlier on challenged his conviction, claiming it was based on an incorrect charge sheet and that critical witnesses failed to testify before the court.
Tumehusunika sana mambo ya Mheshimiwa John Waluke kwa kupelekwa yeye tena ndani, na tunasema yeye amesimama na sisi tangu tukiwa kwa chama cha Jubilee tukakuja kwa chama cha UDA. Tunaomba kwamba rais, wewe ni mtu unajua, wewe ni mtu mwenye unajua mambo ya Mungu, saidia huyu jamaa yako amekusaidia zaidi, alisimama na wewe, na tunakuomba kwamba yeye ndiye amekuwa chairman wa Jubilee mpaka akakuja kuwa chairman wa UDA pale Bungoma County, na kuomba kwamba umsaidie.
Sirisia residents led by Bungoma leaders are calling out the court on the verdict and are pleading with the president to intervene.
Wangu binafsi naona ya kwamba itatuadhiri sana, itatuumiza kwa sababu yeye wakati amekuwa katika uongozi kuna zile sectors ambazo ameahidi kwamba atakamilisha, kama vile kutengeneza hii barabara from Mayanja to Sirisia, ilikuwa kwamba akamilisha.
Ndalana, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Ndalana. Now, lawyer Paul Gisheru has been laid to rest today at his home in Bahati, Nakuru County. Gisheru died last week at his current home under unclear circumstances, with a postmortem not revealing a conclusive report. Gisheru was facing charges of bribery and intimidation of witnesses at the ICC.
Little words, you're a man of great action. You're loving, composed, and courageous.
My love, how I wish you could wake up, loving husband to me and our children. I still can't believe that you're gone. It was so soon.
Paul has made a contribution to the Kenyan development. A united family where the husband, the father, shows openly that he loves the family.
Indeed, and may his soul rest in peace. After the government lifted the ban on GMO last week, different non-governmental organizations have come out to oppose the move, saying there was no public participation. Karikin Dwati tells us more.
Force us to consume what you want us to consume. You cannot create a scenario where maybe there'll be artificial lack of food so that we can fall in love with your GMOs. No. We have a right to choose.
Lifting of the ban of GMO has continued to bring about different reactions from Kenyans, with non-governmental organizations saying that 57% of Kenyans were not in agreement with President Ruto's move to lift the ban and allow importation of planting of genetically modified seeds and animal feeds.
A survey conducted by Root to Food Initiative in December 2021 showed that a majority of Kenyans, and that is 57% of Kenyans, are not willing to consume GMOs. The lifting of the ban, therefore, goes against the will of the Kenyan people and goes against their human right to food. What was the rush to lift the ban on GMOs even before such a basic safeguards are in place?
The National Coordinator of Biodiversity and Biosafety Association Kenya, Ann Maina, says that there was no public participation that happened.
The lack of public participation. The rash decision to lift the ban on the importation of GMOs into the country lacked public participation. No public consultations were done, and the views of the public were not considered in the decision to lift the ban, which essentially curtails the freedom of Kenyans to choose what they want to eat or not.
This is not a fair market for our farmers. Our neighbors, Uganda and Tanzania, will also not favorably compete with the US-based farmers. And we are just wondering whether this is the bottom-up approach that we were promised.
They have also noted that the government organizations have been at the forefront spreading misinformation. Their call now is to have the GMO dismissed.
That the government institutions entrusted by the people to protect them and act in their interest would propagate misinformation about the intention and the attributes of GMOs. Some of the misinformation peddled by government institutions about GMOs include the following, and I will list them briefly. 1, that the BT maize is early maturing.
The introduction of the GMO has continued to bring about mixed reaction. Some of the stakeholders citing that they were not involved by the government in the passing of the bill. Then, what next? Kariuki Ndwati, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
And the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has ruled that the Kenya Kwanza Alliance has the majority in the House and the Azimio One Kenya coalition is the minority. The Speaker made the ruling after determining that Kenya Kwanza has 179 MPs while Azimio has 157 MPs.
Leadership of the minority party.
The battle for the majority in the National Assembly has been settled following the ruling of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, that the Kenya Kwanza side has the majority members in the August House, while the Azimio is the minority.
The membership of the Kenya Kwanza coalition stands at 179 members, while the membership of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party stands at 157 members. This, by implication, indicates that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is the minority party in this House.
Speaker Moses Wetangula declared that Kenya Kwanza's Kikuyu Member of Parliament Kimani Ichung'wah as the leader of majority, where he will be deputized by Owen Baya, who is the Member of Parliament for Kilifi North. The majority whip is Silvanus Osoro, will be deputized by Naomi Jilowako.
Leadership of the minority party.
On the minority side, Opiyo Wandayi is the leader of minority, who will be deputized by Robert Mbui. Suna East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed will be the minority whip, deputized by the nominated Member of Parliament Sabina Chage.
The leader of the majority party, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and the leader of the minority party, the Honorable Opiyo Wandayi, are directed to submit not more than 4 members each to my office, latest by 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 11th October 2022.
After the declaration of the Speaker, the atmosphere in the Parliament changed as chaos erupted, forcing the Speaker to adjourn the House prematurely.
Order. Honorable members, order.
It is now a wait-and-see situation whether the Azimio coalition will be heading to court to challenge the declaration, as they had earlier stated. Speaker Moses Wetangula declined to accept the argument by the Azimio coalition, stating that some of his founder parties would come to the Kenya Kwanza were still members of the coalition until 3 months after the election. The Speaker also stated that the registrar of political parties failed to produce copies of post-election agreements between the Azimio coalition and the founder parties. Shadrack Kareria, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Shadrack Kareria, for that report. Indeed, the stalemate is now off. Moving on, President William Ruto arrived in Ethiopia on Thursday to attend the ongoing peace talks in the country. The president will also preside over the official launch of Safaricom Ethiopia in Addis Ababa.
About our conflict in the northern part.
Moving on, drought continues to persist in Samburu and Kajiado County, leading to loss of livestock. This comes as residents continue to receive relief food from the government and well wishes, which they say is still not enough. Pris Kanjeri looks at the drought situation in the country and files the following report.
Drought has been a subject of debate across the country, with the government putting measures in place to mitigate the situation as 23 counties stare at starvation. In Samburu and Kajiado County, the struggle to have something to eat is ongoing as livestock drop dead due to lack of pasture and water. Most herders have been left with no cattle after losing more than 50 animals, something which would have generated income for them.
Nilikuwa na wasichana ngapi secondary wawili, mmoja college na hata hajamaliza. Na hizi ng'ombe inakuwa kama ningekuwa ningeuza moja, ningekuwa nauza 70, 60 hivyo, hiyo bei. Lakini saa hizi sina. Shida kubwa sana tuko nazo hapa. Hata watoto saa hii hakuna chakula, wacha ng'ombe. Shule ni shida, kupata pesa ya kulipa. Kwa hivyo hii ni kazi ambaye ni kubwa, isipokuwa kazi ya Mungu, lakini tunaona kama inawezekana, kama yuko msaada yoyote tunaanza kupatiwa, kwa sababu tunaona kiangazi imekuwa imezidi sana.
And as the men go out in search of pasture and water to salvage the remaining herd, it is the women and children who are left grappling with the dire situation of drought. Here, a meal a day for most families is a miracle.
Wamama ndio wameathirika sana na watoto, na sisi ndio tumeachwa nyumbani tukiwa hatuna chakula. So leo wale wamama wako hapa, tunashukuru Mungu maana watapata kidogo ambayo itawasaidia kwa siku zijazo.
They are now reaching out to both levels of government to intervene and avert human deaths. So dreadful is the situation that Samburu Governor Lati Leletit says the county is ranked as an emergency and needs immediate intervention of relief food supply.
We've committed ourselves to providing relief food in this very difficult time. It's an emergency for the whole country. Samburu is in the alarm stage, and we want to make sure that we rescue our people from the savages of drought. We want to ask the national government, all departments of national government, as directed by the President, William Ruto, to coordinate with us as the county government so that we can all play a role in helping our people through this drought.
Priska Njeri, Lookuptv.
And still on drought, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua today met with officials from the United States of America led by Ambassador Meg Whitman to discuss issues affecting the country, top among the drought situation and the strategy to combat drought in the ASL counties. Gachagua called for urgent measures to be focused within sub-counties and ward levels across the country, hailing the development partners for their continued support, noting that counties never known to experience drought were currently affected.
And your team.
Thank you.
I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to our office here, and we are delighted to host you. And we want from the very onset to say that we are very happy that you have settled down very quickly and started very robust engagement with our government and the people of Kenya. And we have no doubt in our mind that with a keen interest you have shown by settling down very quickly and started engaging us, this will enhance the very good relations between Kenya and the United States of America.
This is Lookup News, and we are taking a very fast break. Please do not go too far because we'll be coming back with a weekly episode of Born a Man.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly one-year installments plan.
They're inspiring possibilities.
Welcome back. This is Lookup News right here on Lookup TV. I am Nelima, and our sign language interpreter is Philista Adundo. The Council of Governors, through their chair, Anne Waiguru, have issued a red alert as critical services in devolved units continue to be crippled following delayed in disbursement of county allocation revenue. The governors are now making a passionate appeal to the national government and the Treasury to move with speed and release the funds to prevent a total shutdown of operations at the counties. And as our reporter Henry Tende now files, the Council also wants an assurance that their issues will be articulated at the national level, even in the absence of the devolution ministry.
As they settle in the office 1 month after being sworn in, the Council of Governors under their chair Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru are evidently a worried lot. The devolved units' financial coffers have dried up, and this is a major concern.
While we are cognizant that we are in a new political dispensation, as county governments, we are duty-bound to provide smooth and uninterrupted service delivery to every citizen. However, the Council is concerned that despite being in the midst of transition, the current financial situation across the 47 county governments is devastating.
Under the current constitution dispensation, the national government through the Treasury must facilitate prompt disbursement of revenues to county governments to enable smooth service delivery. According to the Council of Governors, this has not been happening for the past 3 months.
The total outstanding arrears owed to counties stands at Kenya shillings 51,762,201,733.
Now, the governors want the government to move with speed to arrest this situation that is threatening to blow out of control.
The Council therefore calls upon the National Treasury to release all the outstanding disbursement to counties on or before Monday, 10th October 2022.
Even as they urge Treasury to urgently intervene, they remain worried that further delay will have unprecedented adverse effects on the functioning of counties.
So far, the continued delay in disbursement of funds has paralyzed county operations in respect to the following: 1. Payment of salaries to county officials. 2. Purchase of medical supplies. 3. Stalling of development projects. And 4. Response to interventions required to mitigate the drought and disaster that is going on.
Another point of concern for the governors is the failure by the national government to name a respective devolution ministry. In this accord, the Council wants assurance that their issues will be articulated at the national level.
The Ministry of Devolution is not part of the ministries, and as such, the modalities of funding to the Council of Governors will be affected. In light of this, we are requesting His Excellency, the President, to direct the National Treasury to grant the COG a vote for direct funding.
It is a clarion call from Council of Governors as delayed disbursement of revenues to the counties is threatening the basic survival of those counties. Now, their call is on the National Treasury to fast-track the release of these funds so that critical functions at county level are not adversely affected. Henry Tende, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Thank you, Henry Tende, for the detailed report. And now to some business news. Standard Chartered Bank has held a forum with the Kenya Business Disability Network with an aim of bringing inclusivity of persons living with disabilities in the private sector in an event held in Nairobi. Speaking during the event, Standard Chartered Bank Kenya CEO Kariuki Ngari has said there is need by the private sector to hire and professionally develop persons living with disabilities. Evridja Mukora now reports.
As part of the bank's program dubbed Future Makers for an inclusive employability, Standard Chartered Bank Kenya has reaffirmed its commitment in incorporating an inclusive workforce which entails employing persons living with disabilities.
We went out for a drive to employ not just physical disability, but people with visual impairment. And even today, they were here, they were present. Yeah? So that is happening. This building in itself has become more accessible because we have put deliberate steps on how do we make that accessible. Even for our client, like going to an ATM and being able to, if you're visually impaired, being able to use Braille on the ATM or getting lamps to get you to the ATM. So it's something, it's work in progress. We have made giant steps and we also have even bigger commitments that we want to achieve as a bank.
Elsewhere, Family Bank Kenya, in partnership with Adinan Labs Africa, has set aside 10 million shillings to facilitate a 4-month ICT program that will impact 250 youths aged between 18 and 25 years with digital skills in software development to transform their talents into employable skills.
This time we're going to sponsor about 250 students, just slightly double the number we did in cohort number 1. And we're going to also raise our sponsorship in partnership with other labs to the tune of 10 million shillings.
Finally, Kenya's retail sector will see yet another big name exit the market after South African retailer Massmart, which operates the game stores, began talks with staff on planned closure of its 3 stores in Kenya after efforts to sell the business failed. The retailer, listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, said on Wednesday that it failed to get domestic buyers for its 15 game stores in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana and Nigeria after they were put in the market last year. Edwin John Mokora, Look Up Business.
Thank you so much, Edwin John Mokora. And now, born in Yindare as the only son in a family of 5 children, Kennedy Ngumo regrets taking a direction in the efforts to solve a problem he thought he knew the perfect solution. Kennedy lost almost everything to alcohol abuse and now strives to patch together his life as he lives within the shadows of the impact of making a wrong decision. Our very own Cecilia Lubanga brings us the story.
Najua nimekosea sana, ndio nilikuwa nakupigia. Najua umejam na mimi sitaki kuwa na stress tena toka next year ya hao ama ya mtoi. Amekata.
Crowded with feelings of regret. His efforts to mend the broken bond with the mother of his children has so far proven futile. This he blames on the poor choices he made, choices that cost him everything he had gathered for years. In the efforts to sometimes seek solutions to our problems, we end up settling for means that actually end up taking a toll on us. The results, leaving us with no room to restore our lost selves to the fullest. However, we try regardless of how the society labels us. This is one story of Kennedy Ngumo, a 35-year-old who now sells second-hand shoes here in Nairobi County. For Kennedy, one mistake changed the course of his life. Inako area along Jogoo Road in Nairobi. Residents up and about in a beehive of activities, and the chatter between sellers and buyers under the scorching sun is a clear picture of what it takes to earn a living in the city. Our lenses settle on Kennedy Ngumo, who prides himself in selling shoes, a business that now pays the bills, but with remorse, Ngumo remembers how he lost it all.
Right after I graduated, I went to Dubai for about a year or so. I worked there for a retail group called RGG, the Retail Gulf Group. I wasn't able to get my working documents in order in time. So at some point I had to come back. I got a job at a law firm, Kabiru Ndege and Company Advocates. They used to be somewhere on the Kaunda Street. Worked there as a conveyance guy, trying to pass up things at the lands office, title deeds and such. I was basically alone doing tons of work for the company, and I couldn't handle it. I tried raising the issue, but basically it just came up as a complaint or as an unnecessary baggage that did not need to be addressed.
That marking the end of Ngumo's interests in working for institutions. A job that has piled up stress, and in an attempt to ease the pressure, he made an irrational decision that would change the course of his life. The company he kept then introduced him to alcohol, and this was the genesis of his addiction.
I thought and I said, well, I don't think I need to work you at all. I can continue being in this petty lifestyle, working for people who did not appreciate me. That was when I chose to take the risk and go it alone. Say I would struggle to the end. At that point, alcohol was a very good comfort. I was a party freak. It used to make you drink and cool down. So to speak, I thought alcohol was the only thing that made me feel worth some respect within the circles that I was working with or within the circles that I found myself during the weekends. So that's when I started the habit. Immediately I resigned, because that day when I resigned I was totally broke. I had about 1,000 bob in my pocket. I drank that day a few beers, and then because of the stress and the realization the next morning that I didn't have a job, nowhere else to do, I didn't have a plan. I went that morning, we had an argument, and then I went back to my side of the office. I actually wrote it in handprint, wrote the letter, and then I took it to the office. Then I walked out.
By then, did you maybe have a backup plan or something that you will do, or you just resigned out of anger?
It was one of the biggest decisions I regret, actually, though it's too late to mend it. I didn't have a backup plan. It was I just snapped. Somewhere in between, and immediately I left my boss's office. I went to mine, took a biro, and wrote something. The next thing I knew, I was walking down the lift.
After 12 years of alcohol abuse and a life that left little to be desired, his efforts to start a new business hit a dead end. Oftentimes in society, men are viewed as leaders. And just like any institution, so much is expected from a leader. One mistake can lead to more than one person being affected. In this case, a family is involved.
I used to have a family. I broke up with my wife a few years ago because of the same alcohol thing. When I left the law firm, I started doing small businesses around. Nikaanza kuuza mtumba, that ngara. I started going around towns, selling those bales of clothes. Eventually I settled in Nakuru and got a job there, working for this phone company. They started out with techno. And at that time I met a really good lady, and we settled down. We had a kid, and things were going just fine. Things were going actually very fine. I thought that was the place I was supposed to settle down because I had a job, my wife had a job. Everything was fine, and I could afford a lifestyle. However, a habit is always a disease. So immediately I got back to the comfort level. I started drinking again in excess, excessive. And she couldn't take it anymore.
Like many addicts, Gomo had tried to break the addiction unsuccessfully until one day when he met a man who, like him, had struggled for many years with alcohol addiction.
It's been about 5 months now since I stopped drinking alcohol, and I can see the change. I can even feel the change, because I think I stayed too much when my mind was loaded without thinking straight. That I finally started appreciating a clear thought. Right now when I sit and I think about something, I can see the clarity in it. I can even feel it. I have a kid. That's the part that pains me most. I have tried calling them severally. I tried even going to look for them at the place they used to work, but they got transferred to another station. Clearly, I knew she was avoiding me, and I couldn't blame her because I pushed her to the end.
As part of the recovery journey, Gomo now sells second-hand shoes, popularly known as mitumba, an honest trade that he's proud of. He also works alongside a group of young men focused on taking the right path in life.
I'm not really a very busy trader, but it puts food in the mouth and keeps me something to save for the house, sometimes to send to my dependents somewhere. And basically that's what I do. I sell shoes. I do some big work. I'm an artist. We make poetry. We do some music. All for a coin. All for a coin. Alcohol is fun, but let it be treated as such. Let it not be a habit. The moment it becomes a habit, it becomes a part of you. And when you infect that part of you you end up being something very different.
So Kennedy is trying to patch his life together with the hope that there will be light at the end of the tunnel and he'll be able to make peace with the mistake that he made.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about kufurahisha the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni Hapa Kazi Tu.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There's always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Yippee! Kamata plotting at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optiven's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
Flight through the streets of Cebu Market for the ball. He's
Welcome back. It's time for some sporting action. Tekla Kirongo will lead Team Kenya in the Sanlam Marathon schedule.